Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Tech Talk SA. We're so excited to be back for another episode. We're so glad that you guys are enjoying the episodes as they're going along and that you're coming back to watch. Today's a very exciting episode, but you also notice something is a bit different, right? Where's Bushley? It's just Joe. Bushley is away in Joburg. We had an amazing opportunity and I happened to be in Cape Town, so we thought we had to take it. And I'm glad on the behalf of both of us that I could be here and do this episode for you guys, because we really want to make sure that tech is known all over SA, and this is going to be an important part of that journey that we take you guys on. But enough about all of the intro. I want to introduce our amazing guest today, someone that we're very privileged and honored to have on the podcast. And not just because we're in awe of her, but because also of what her organization does and what they stand for. You know, we really believe in your technical self, your professional self, and your future self. And I really think that capacity aligns with that. So welcome and so privileged to have Fiona on the episode with us today. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, thank you very much. It's a lovely to be here.
How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. Very well. Very excited to have you in Cape Town.
Now, I want to say I'm excited, but the weather is giving me very cold.
Yeah, we got to apologize for our Cape Town. It's not been behaving very well recently, but you know.
Joburg, I left and I hadn't looked at the weather app and I packed for Joburg weather.
No, that's a mistake. That's a mistake.
I'm learning. I'm definitely learning. But I don't want to just shoot straight in. Is there anything you'd like to say about yourself in terms of to the guests? Besides the fact that she's the Chief Executive Officer, which is what we all want to be one day. I know it, guys. We all want to be strong boss women. We'll get there. We'll eventually grow.
Do you know, it's a really interesting thing, you know, talking about being a boss woman and being a leader, a woman leader.
Yes.
Gosh, do you know, it happens often just by chance. It's not necessarily something that I woke up one day and said, I'm going to be a chief executive. You know, I'm just someone that's very passionate about young people and passionate about education and change and opportunity. And, you know, I'm very lucky that I've had wonderful life experiences and opportunities. And there's always just been something else to go or something else to do. And I'm incredibly lucky to be in this position, but with an organization like Capacity that I hold such a passion for and allows me to come to work every day and get excited by what I do.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people that get to be fulfilled.
Absolutely. Now it comes with grey hair. I just say it's not always easy. You know, we often say that what we're doing, we're at the forefront of a war for young people in this country. It's you know, the situation that we have with youth unemployment and young talented people not being in jobs is, you know, it's terrible. It's a crisis. So, you know, we come to fight every day, and actually being that warrior for young people is quite exhausting at times. But that said, to come to work every day and know that actually what little bit that you do actually can make a difference in other people's lives is very, very fulfilling.
And it's great to know that we have people in our corner. Sometimes as the youth, we always think, oh, we have to sort things out on our own. But that's why we're having this conversation today, guys. So you know that there's always people in your corner like Capacity. So would you like to just tell us a bit about Capacity for our viewers out there that don't exactly know what you guys do in the organization?
Of course. Brilliant. We're a not-for-profit organization. So in other words, we raise all of our funding for the specific reason to invest in young people and get young people into the world of work. So our bullseye is jobs. That's what we aim to do. Okay. We're looking specifically at technical skills and technology. We believe in opportunity that is sustainable and lifelong and life-changing, and that will set a career path for a young person. And we look specifically at technology and digital jobs because we believe that it's a catalyst for change in this country. It's a catalyst for our economy. And it also represents an opportunity that if somebody gets into that career path, there's great opportunity for growth, for learning, for development, for building a lifelong opportunity and career. So that's the technology part. We're part of a wider organization called UVU Africa. We operate across sub-Saharan Africa, and we look at technology skills, which is predominantly what Capacity does. But we also have a part of the business that looks at biotechnology, entrepreneurs and technicians for labs. We have a part of the business that operates in the edtech industry called Ingenie, and they're looking at really technological advances in education and how they can support entrepreneurs grow those advances to make a big change in education. And then we have a part of the business that looks at entrepreneurship as well, and it supports entrepreneurs from very early stage ideation all the way through to scaling businesses that exist. So all in that part, absolutely very wide, but in that part of trying to say, let's go out and find, catalyze, collaborate, bring people together and create an ecosystem for growth.
And I love what you said about sustainable, because I do feel like sometimes, especially if you study a university degree, at the end of it, you're left without professional type skills, right? So how do I make my LinkedIn look the best? We don't even know that LinkedIn is a great place for you to network. So the fact that it's like a whole life cycle that Capacity undertakes for students is fantastic from start to end.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that train skills, or you go to university and you get a degree in something. That's brilliant. Education is so important, and yes. I absolutely fundamentally support that any young person needs to consider their educational pathway. But we also need to try and understand where you're going in that pathway. What does my education that I'm doing, how does it correlate with a job at the end of it? It's not always easy to understand that. And also, if you think about what corporate South Africa, or what the jobs that are on offer are asking people to do, that's not always skills that you learn in an education system. 100%. So my background is very much from human capability, big corporates. I worked in the UK for 20 or so years, and very much looking at the workforce development, so the skills that a workforce needs to be able to deliver your strategy now and then within the next few years and within the next 5 years. So building out a strategy about talent pipelining to say, okay, for the business to be operating very effectively, you need to know what people you need in it.
Yeah.
And when you understand that, and then you translate it to the other side of the system and say, okay, we've got this fabulous group of potential and raw talent in young people in South Africa. But then how do you match that? Why are organizations not hiring young people? And it's because we're thinking about things in education terms. I've learned this rather than I need these particular skills to succeed in a workplace.
Yeah.
So when we created the capacity model, we very much looked at what we call the holistic model. So the person, developing communication skills, self-awareness, belief, confidence, all those things that we need as an individual, as well as mental well-being, psychosocial support, all of those things to try and enable success for a young person. And then we looked at the professional skills that a person needs. So in a workplace, what are you going to be expected to do? How do I operate within a work context? How do I teamwork, engage with people, ask questions effectively, meet deadlines, apply the work that I've been doing, work as a team, work on projects, that type of thing. And then the technical skill that somebody needs as well. So skill is only, if you think about a three-legged stool, if you take any one of those legs away, the stool falls over.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of the concept and the methodology of what we do in capacity.
And I can see that from, like how you said, holistically, how you guys have built the program. And speaking from my own experience, I would have loved a lot of the professional skills, a lot of the teamwork. Sometimes when you're studying or you're doing a degree, which is great, like you said, you do it alone a lot. So when you come into the real working world, then you have 5 people speaking about ideas and you need to listen to each other so that you could problem solve together. It's not always you and what you think and how you would do it, but how the people around you would do it as well. And I sometimes feel like when you're doing just a degree, you miss out on that part.
Absolutely. So the education system, by nature of it, it's about you against that learning pathway.
Yes.
You're being assessed and you're being marked and you're getting the best that you can out of yourself, which is brilliant because that's what education is there to give you. It's a personal, introspective thing. But the world of work doesn't operate like that. Because you cannot be, you can't stand alone. It's you come together as a team and there's a strategic objective of the business or your department or your particular group that you're working with. And understanding how to operate in that ecosystem is not always something that we get exposed to.
And I was actually chatting to you members in your team earlier, and you're chatting about how the skills pipeline has changed in tech. So how, you know, a couple of years ago, everybody wanted a dev and it was software engineers, software engineers, software engineers. But now we're like, okay, we've built out these solutions. Now we need cybersecurity people so that they can protect our solutions. So do you think that we as South African youth especially are educated in actually making wise decisions about how the talent skill, like where our skills should be, and not necessarily like, oh, I'm just going to study this degree because I know a software engineer is tech?
That's a very good question. And what I would say is the tech industry has been so dynamic and volatile and changing. And gosh, what we knew a year ago is not what we know today. You know, it's a marketplace by nature of what it is, that it's developing so much. You know, and you can talk about that within a 2-year period, but you can also look back at how's tech developed in the last 20 years, or, you know, if think about, you know, I traveled a lot in the 90s. You know, I didn't have a mobile phone, you know, like we just didn't have that comms, you know. And so that, though I like to think it wasn't that long ago, but you know, in my lifetime, tech has changed massively. And so I think that the secret about learning technology is not necessarily because I want to learn a skill to be, you know, there's not a direct correlation X equals X. You know, I'm going to learn to be a software developer, therefore I'm going to do this. Exactly. It's a way of learning. It's a way of developing an agile mindset. It's about design thinking and solutions, conceptual logical reasoning, all of those tasks that if you set yourself up correctly while you're a sponge and while you're young, while you're learning and while you're curious, you create a set of skills and tools that allow you to adapt and change as technology adapts and changes. So you will never leave an education system. I mean, some people will, but most people won't leave an education system.
Say, I studied this, so I'm directly going to become that.
Absolutely. Or that I'm going to stay in that role for the rest of my life.
Yes.
You know, yes, of course, if you're going to be a doctor, or if you're going to go into, you know, be some of those tasks, you know, lawyer things. But even within those industries, you start at the bottom and you work up and you change and you learn new skills and you apply that. And I think anybody entering the technology industry or looking for jobs in tech has to be less worried about, I want to be this specific role, but more around, do I have the characteristics and the personalities and the interest and the way of thinking about things that's going to allow me to succeed in this industry?
100% agree. I didn't want it to come from me, guys. I wanted Fiona to tell you, but that is, like, I found that true to form with my own experience as well. Just because I studied one thing, we didn't even know what data science was 5 years ago in South Africa. I'm a data scientist now. So when I started my degree, there wasn't a thing of becoming that. So just because you study one thing doesn't mean that you can't go 100% into another thing and you grow in your career. So things change.
Absolutely.
And those characteristics that Fiona spoke about, guys, that is so true. To be a techie, to be a true techie, you need to know that you need to be ready to develop yourself, continuously upskill. The trends change, it's dynamic. So keeping up with those trends, be a problem solver, know that you want to like get stuck into a problem and solve it, and be able to say, I'm happy with this outcome, or I'm not happy, I want to develop a bit more or do more. Like,
exactly. There's a curiosity.
Yes.
Curiosity, and you're like, and there's that question of that, why? You know,
Why?
And why is this like this? Why have I created this line of code and it's not giving me the answer I need? And the people that are going to succeed in that kind of deep coding environment are the people that will sit there for hours lost in looking at a screen and trying to work out the problem is. But even within that, I mean, you know, again, that shouldn't put you off a technology career if you think, oh my goodness, I'm not that type of person. Because your careers can span so many different avenues. So, you know, are you a person that is curious but a people person? You know, are you someone that asks the questions? And, you know, so you want something to look like this, but tell me why, and who are you talking to, and why is that happening, and why, you know, if I'm going to develop a website for you, for example, why, you know, who do you want it to talk to, and who's it resonating, and who's going to read this and things. So you've got that kind of people skill in some elements. Then you've got the skill, as I say, who can lock themselves in a room and have attention to detail and look through deep information for hours. You've got the the level, the people that are fascinated by taking apart a piece of equipment and putting it back together again. The hardware side, absolutely. You've got the people that are fascinated by the cybersecurity side, like what is happening in the world in terms of online security and
I'm an ethical hacker, so I can make sure things are safe. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you think about all of our data and what's out there, and how do we operate in this new world where everybody knows everything about us, and what are the ethics around that, and what's the safety consideration. So the world of technology is a vast and varied and fascinating place to be in, and it's here to stay. It's only going to get bigger. It's going to get more complex. It's going to create career opportunities. It's really going to create a lot of excitement for the future. So, absolutely, I would encourage young people to look at it as a career pathway.
Well, and I was just having a chat at the school about the exact same thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to be a doctor, and it's great. Great to be a doctor, but it's also great to know what's out there and to say you've made your decision on the little research you could do, because at the end of matric, you're like, oh, what can I be? And I know an engineer, I know a doctor, I know this, I know that. So to do your research is also what's going to be incredibly important. But aside from doing your research on your degree, it's also important to do your research on the avenue you take to do it, right? Because tech is so vast and because there's so many different ways you can do it, whether you're going the practical route, you're going TBT, you're going university, it's important for our youth to know what's going to match them best, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why organizations like CAPACITI exist as well.
Absolutely. Look, it's an interesting path, and education is a privilege still in this country, which is sad. It shouldn't
Very
be.
sad, yeah.
Education should be democratized, and everybody should have access to a quality education. But sadly, that's not the case. No. So we have to realize that. But I think also what I would say is, because technology is such an interesting and fast-growing and application-based career pathway, if you can't make it to university, if you can't get into the course that you want to do at university, there are multiple other options available. TVET colleges are running good IT courses nowadays. You can learn online if you've got the access to learning online. There's a lot of the big partners, the Microsofts of this world, Googles, Amazons, IBMs, etc. A lot of those big partners have incredibly good content online that you can teach learn yourself.
Good certifications that you can get.
Absolutely, internationally recognized certifications. It's tough to do it by yourself, but it's there. And then you have people like CAPACITI, and there's multiple colleges out there that are very good. But do your research, go and look at alumni and see what they've got and what they say about it.
Yes.
But there are a range of places that you can actually find and access who provide you with a quality education. And in the case of CAPACITI, at no cost. It's incredibly important to us, and why we set this business up is not for profit, is to that democratizing of access to opportunity. So
in South Africa.
Exactly, irrespective of of where you come from or how much money you've got in your pocket, you should have a right to have a high quality education.
Yes.
And so what we're trying to build here is as advanced and as high touch and supportive education system as possible, but provided it free of charge to young people to come and join the program.
Okay. Guys, I want to say I didn't know that, but I knew that because I was doing my research. But that's an incredible opportunity that we're giving young South Africans to enter, like you said, a world of space that's so vast and that has so much opportunities. It's going to continually grow. It's going to create jobs in an economy where we know there's sometimes not a lot of job opportunity in South Africa. So my question is, how, once they've made that decision and they've done the research, and so they're interested in getting into CAPACITI. I know there's like boot camps, for example. Like, have you heard of We Think Code?
Yes, very good organization.
It's a boot camp, and I know it's extremely, people have said it's extremely difficult to get into. The application process as well does take. We actually had a guest on who, on his 4th attempt, he only was able to get into We Think Code, but he knew it was going to be a great opportunity again to get practical tech experience that is going to get him job world ready. So he was like, I'm going to keep going until I get in. Is the CAPACITI experience going to be similar?
Yeah, it is similar. We run a slightly different methodology, but yes, we do have, I would say, for every 50 places, we have quite a few thousand applications. So, it is tough. For two reasons. I think firstly, because we want to set people up for success. So we want to make sure that if someone is going to come into a program, because we would be investing somewhere in the region of around 200,000 rand for every person that we bring into the campus. So
it sounds like a fair education, to be honest, South Africa.
Absolutely. So you know, we want to make sure that we're going to invest in you, but you need to be set up to be ready for that investment, and you
want this.
Exactly. You want this. So there's partly that. There's partly then also making sure that when we bring in a group of young people, that the level of experience and caliber and ability is similar, so that everybody thrives and everybody has a chance to grow. So that's important. So we must make sure that we select the right people from that perspective. There's also the element, as I say, we are a not-for-profit. Our alumni become our ambassadors. So it's very important for young people to go out and spread the message, because the more people that are positive about what we do, the more funding we're able to raise, and therefore the more funding we're able to apply to young people. Exactly. So all of those things we must consider. But also, unfortunately, it's a supply and demand thing. You know, at the moment, we train around 1,000 young people a year. And you know, we have taken a very purposeful decision not to go into the space of 10,000, 100,000, that sort of space, because
quality over the quantity.
Exactly. There's a place for the quantity. You know, what we've decided to do is this quality pathway. So really our recruitment process, it is tough.
Yeah.
Persevere, please. If you've got an interest, you know, do keep on trying. What we're looking for at the first stage of the process is basic technical ability and your level of IT skills, your level of conceptual thinking, and some numeracy.
Yes.
It is education agnostic in most cases, unless there's a particular funder that needs a particular outcome. Okay. So we're not saying you must have a university degree in computer science, for example. We're looking for potential. And then we look through a telephone interview for motivation, interest, engagement with technology. Now, you don't need to know a lot about it. It's not that we're saying at this stage you need to know everything about it, but we're looking for young people that say, maybe what you've read in the industry, maybe what you're interested in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe you're a gamer, maybe you're someone who downloads all the apps and you're a real techie.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you know, why is it that you're interested in a career in technology? And then we go through some psychometric testing to look at your ability to learn, your ability, again, the problem-solving abilities, your ability for self-leadership. You know, do you have the motivation and the resilience to get through what is a tough training course? And then we do a final stage interview, which is a face-to-face interview as well, where you come to the campus and you meet the mentors and the people that you'll be working with, and make sure that the course is right for you.
Okay. So it sounds like if you're willing to persevere, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so how long would your cohorts be like for the program? Is that going to be, so a cohort comes in, I've just gotten accepted, thank you. And I'm going to be doing, is it 12 to 18 months? And do I have to have previously done a degree, or can I have upskilled myself? Like, what do we normally look for when we're looking for a cohort?
Yeah. So we run customized programs in mostly in response to a particular demand that either the market that we spotted in the marketplace or a particular funder is looking for. So we may work, for example, we've got a program that we're running with ABSA where we're training software developers. We are just starting a program in Johannesburg for F&B where we're going to be looking at data engineering, cybersecurity, and Java programs. So we run a variety of different programs dependent on the funder, and some of those will be specific in what they're looking for in terms of the level of experience.
Okay.
So go and look on our Facebook pages and LinkedIn, and it will tell you a little bit more about those programs.
We will have their LinkedIn in the link below.
Yes, thank you.
The description below.
Fantastic. But typically then, our typical program is around 6 months in duration in our campus, and then 6 months where we place you into a host organization where you do an internship.
Okay.
So the program is typically 12 months long, but as I say, dependent on the required outcome, dependent on how complex the end job is at the end of it that we're training towards, it may vary. Probably 18 months is the longest, and I would say probably about 6 months is the shortest.
Okay. So imagine getting a whole experience where you get to come in, you get to technically upskill yourself, you get to professionally upskill yourself, and you get job placement. That's absolutely crazy. I wish I knew that opportunities were like this out there, because sometimes you fear when you graduate sitting at home.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing in South Africa, and with the youth, we fear being the first ones having the opportunity to go study, that we get done and then we sit.
Yes.
And we don't know, well, I specifically didn't know, and my co-host as well, when we were chatting about this, we don't know if opportunities like this existed, where you have the opportunity to potentially have a job placement and get experience, because you'll graduate and they'll be like, oh, can we have 1 to 3 years experience? And you're like, how? I just graduated.
That old cheese study. The whole experience thing in South Africa is a very difficult thing, and it's a chicken and egg scenario. To get the job, you need the experience. To get the experience, you need the job. How do I do that? Look, what I will say to your audience and to all you guys listening out there, look, it is not easy transitioning from education into the world of work. It is not, within the context of South Africa, something that happens overnight. But persevere. There are lots of really great organizations out there that are doing lots of good things. Do your research. Please, Google is your friend. It's not complicated. Spend some time, whether you've got to go to a library to access data, whether you do it on your phone, whether you find a quiet time, sit down and do some research. Yeah. But I would really also encourage people to have a really good understanding, or at least an idea of what makes you excited. Because you're building a career for the rest of your life at this stage. So, there's nothing worse than getting out of bed every morning and going into work and thinking, oh my goodness, I hate my job. I hate my job. So even if you're sitting with a piece of paper and jotting down, like, what makes me happy? Yeah. What excites me? What are the things that when I start to do that task, I go, oh, excellent, I'm going to enjoy this, as opposed to, I don't want to do that. Yeah. And let me use an example of myself. I did very well with maths at school. I got an A for maths in matric. Numbers are something that are quite easy for me to understand. But my goodness, give me a spreadsheet of numbers to do. Still now, where I have to do all my budgets and my finances, I'm like, oh, it's all
accounting for you.
Exactly, it's the task that goes to the bottom of my list, because
you need to enjoy it.
Exactly. By nature, I'm a people person. I get much more enjoyment out of talking to people and engaging with people and thinking about solutions and design and ideas and problem solving. And I don't get that from maths. Yeah. So then if I go back to when I was younger, when I was looking at a career pathway, though people would probably have said to me, oh, look, you're really great at maths, go and do a degree, go and do accountancy. I knew straight away, even at that stage, this is not what's going to excite me. And so I really encourage people to think about those things that energize you, and then go and do some research. And
how you could align with your...
Exactly, how are you going to align to that?
No, I 100% agree. Listen, I wish I was chatting with you like 6 years ago and we sat down and you were like, because like the advice you're giving, it sounds so logical. It sounds like you should why are you not sitting and doing self-introspective and thinking, okay, Joe, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. But you get so wrapped up in thinking, I just need to study something, get something, do a practical and do something, and then everything will just fall in place. But then you get to a point in your life and you realize it's actually important that I like what I do. And sometimes it's a bit late because you're so rushing studying or rushing doing whatever degree you want or diploma you're doing, and you're like, I just want to get out of this because I need to get out of it. So
yeah, look, it's easy for me to sit here and talk from experience, but if I share a little bit of my journey, it might be quite interesting for
that would be lovely. Yes.
I'm sitting leading a techie organization, and I'm not a techie. Okay, so it's the biggest joke in my family because I'm absolutely rubbish at tech. But there we go. So for one example, you don't have to. Career paths aren't always that narrow. But exactly. But I went to, I did matric in South Africa. I was very academic. I did very, very well with my matric results. And what do you do when you're a young woman? I graduated in early 90s, you think, oh, I'm very academic. I did well in science and maths. So off you go down that medical route.
Yeah, I've got to say, be a doctor.
Absolutely, let's do that because that's what's obvious. Actually, I chose physiotherapy because I was quite interested in animals and sports and all those sort of things. And I thought, hey, this looks like an interesting career pathway. Well, let me tell you, I hated it. absolutely wrong. I get it.
From year one.
Year one, like I raced off down this pathway because you do, and you have no idea at age 18 really what you want to do with your life. And everybody tells you, oh no, you must do this because you're now academic, all these things. So I did about a year, just over a year, and I started the second year, and I actually then said, no, this is just not for me.
Yeah.
And I was lucky at the time to have an opportunity to go travel. And I went overseas with very, very little money in my pocket, can I say? And I worked for 5 years. I traveled, I backpacked, and I lived in different countries, and I worked in bars, and I cooked food in restaurants, and I cleaned toilets in hotels, and I even worked in a dairy farm milking cows in Israel for quite a long time. So, whole range of experience.
And being a South African, you weren't scared of your parents, because we know South African parents are both very different.
It was difficult. Yeah. It was difficult, especially as my father was very heavily involved in education. And he was vice principal of a school at the time. And so, that was really, I was absolutely not, I wasn't the favorite daughter.
I can resonate.
Really was in trouble. But, in the long run, it's your life. It really is. So, absolutely, I am not in any way taking away the importance of family and education and the support network that you have. Absolutely 100%. But the decisions that you're going to make between graduating school at 18 and that 10 years post-school, those 10 years of your life, so many major things are going to happen in your life. Yeah. You're going to choose your education pathway. You're going to choose your career pathway. You're probably going to meet the person that you fall in love and maybe marry. You may even have a child. You might have bought your first house. So much happens in that time.
10 years, yeah.
10 years. So allow yourselves the space to explore. Allow yourself the space to fail.
Yeah.
I felt spectacularly. I dropped off the education system and I never went back. I never completed a degree. So it's not a disaster. So do you take that step forward with a little bit of confidence in your own self? Yeah.
And recognize who you are inside.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of what our parents in my previous generations did is they did things to make other people happy, and then you resent the decisions you ended up making. Yeah. Because you're like, oh, I'm going to do this and at this person, so that my mom is happy, or so that my dad doesn't get upset with me, or so that my parents don't stop talking, or and then you don't think down the line like, sure, I wish I actually made Joe happy, and I wish I traveled, or I wish I dropped out of that degree and went to go do something that's more practical. Studied fashion design. Like, I think my mom would have been so upset if I said to her, I'm going to study fashion design. She would have been like,
look, mums, dads, families, look, they're hugely important, and their part in our lives as young people is incredibly valid.
Yes.
And so absolutely. I'm not taking away anything from that, and I'm not saying that it's easy, but I think all I'm saying is allow yourself the space to do a little bit of research, a little bit of reading, a little bit of thinking about what makes me happy. And there are opportunities out there, and nothing's a disaster. If you start at university and you start on one course, you get to the point where you say, this really isn't going to be my pathway in life. We're living in a world where education and access to education and changing education and changing careers is now the norm.
Yes.
You were not living in the world where you had one pathway and that's the job you did for life. Yeah. The world is changing. It's a VUCA world, as they say. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's changing. And we, as I'm no longer young, sorry. You have to set yourselves up for the success in that world.
Yes.
It's
ever-changing world.
Exactly. And if you can do that, and you can come with a level of flexibility and adaptability and a desire to learn and an interest in working out where you're going, then you're setting yourself up for success.
100%. If you can be dynamic, take it from me, guys. I thought my world was going to end when I changed degrees. It didn't.
Yeah.
It did not change. Did some introspection on what would actually work for me, and that helped. That helped to set me up of where I was going. But yeah, I thought the world was going to end. it didn't. It's still 2024. It continued. It feels like it in the moment, but afterwards, it genuinely goes on and you learn from it. So what I like to do now is I like to look at things as learnings and less as failures.
Exactly.
Even though I did fail and I take it on the chin, I loved it,
Yeah.
but I was able to learn something.
Exactly.
So I like to look at the silver lining that I get. I'm learning that in the work world as well. It's not that serious when you fail. If you're able to pick yourself up, if you fail forward fast, pick yourself up and you're like, this is what I've learned and this is how I'm going to put it into place in the next thing that I've done.
Absolutely. And without taking away the context of living in South Africa and earning and, you know, money and all of those things. Because again, it's very easy for me to sit here at my age, having built my career and say, hey, yeah, no, don't sweat small stuff when you're younger. But yes, obviously there's a vast context within a South African environment and economy and what money you have in the pocket and the cost of education. But I guess my advice is if that pathway is incredibly onerous and the doors are closed, there are other pathways. Don't sit at home and feel hopeless, because there's a lot of people out there that really are behind young people in this country, and we're passionate about them. We're passionate about the change that young people are going to bring to South Africa. The future of this country is hugely exciting. If we think about all the different cultures and backgrounds and diversity and talent pool and experiences and this vast wealth of young people that we've got, it's such an asset
that we have in this country.
Absolutely.
100% agree. And if, like we said earlier, if you do your research, I think a lot of young South Africans have this view that getting a diploma or going to a college is less than going to university, or doing a boot camp in the tech space specifically is less than. Where it's not. You shouldn't use that as a hindrance to sit at home. If you know yourself and you know that practical is going to work well for you, we are actually having this debate in a previous episode, like the difference between practically doing a boot camp or going to a TVT where you actually like learning skill versus research more, which is like more university. You don't really get that hands-on experience. If you know yourself and you know that practical works really well for you, and you know that you're someone who needs to, like, if you learn faster and you know it's going to be on the job, then that's a fantastic opportunity for you. It should never be a thought of, and take this from me, you get to the work and no one asks you, oh, what degree you have. We're all software engineers here, we're all data scientists here. It's not about how you study to get there. It's everybody's working in the same space.
Look, the world of access to jobs is slowly changing. South Africa is still a little bit old-fashioned by how we hire and how we say what good looks like. So in many of the models around recruitment that businesses build, it's around, to do a data science job, you must have a degree in computer science, for example. It still exists. It's something that we advocate for change a lot in what I do and people in my peers within this industry do. Worldwide, the tech industry is realizing that actually people that are self-taught or go through alternative pathways actually are often the higher achievers, because they've got like a real interest in doing it, and so they actually they do much better.
Yes.
But it's a little bit still in South Africa that people will look for the CV, the education, the university. So if you have the opportunity, do go to university. It opens doors, no shadow of doubt. But if you don't have the opportunity, it doesn't mean that the door is closed. Look for an alternative pathway.
That's great. That solves our whole debate that we were chatting about going to university and we didn't even think about it in a South African context, because sometimes we watch so much of what's happening in the Western world and we're like, people are upskilling and they're learning this and they're teaching themselves this, and then they're getting into Meta and they're getting into Amazon, and you're like, but in South Africa, we are still a little bit behind, still a bit old school in how we do our hiring. And sometimes we even ask for more than above what the youth is doing, postgraduate, and then you're like, oh, okay, I don't even have a degree, but they want honors level or master's level. So you should have been there for that debate episode. Really stumped it for us in the band. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, awesome. It was great having a chat with you today. Any last words you want to leave the audience with, or do you feel we've covered everything?
Gosh, there's lots I can say on this topic. I think my advice to young people out there is don't ever let anyone say you should. Don't stand for that. You know, the talent, the innovation, the resilience, the drive, the interest that you guys bring is vital to this country. So we're going through, you know, South Africa is a relatively young country in terms of our new democracy and where we are and the change that we've gone through. So stand up for yourselves, take part.
Yes.
You know, please, your voice is vital to the future of this country. You know, you are vital to the future of the country. So when we talk about unemployed stats and we have this big sort of like, unemployment, youth unemployment, you know, no talent, you know, people like to say that, but actually that's not true. So don't get sucked into that. What you apply and what opportunity you put into something and what effort does correlate with opportunity. So go for it. Drive yourself, take the opportunity, take the chance, take the risk. It will pay off.
I think you touched on imposter syndrome, which is like a whole other thing.
Oh my goodness, we have a whole conversation about that, especially as a woman in leadership.
Leadership, youth entering the work. Sometimes you feel like your voice doesn't deserve a place because everyone has more experience than you or knows more than you, and you're like, I'm just so young, I've just arrived. But everything you've literally just said is like telling yourself to put that imposter syndrome aside and knowing that your voice is worth something.
Absolutely. Look, hey, I sit here today still with imposter syndrome.
And people don't believe that. That's actually a comment we get on a lot of our things is like, does imposter syndrome ever go away? How do you deal with imposter syndrome? And for me so far, I can't get rid of it. I'll still sit and I'll think, oh, I think this person could have solved this better than I could have. Or
you know, again, so now you're taking me down another topic. Again, it's real, it's there, but embrace it, because the imposter syndrome is your conscience and it's telling you something and it then widens your knowledge and your experience. So it never means I can't go into that room and talk because nobody wants me. It's like, well, I can go into that room and this is what I can bring. Or in your case where you said, oh, but this person could have done a job better than me, then you say, okay, well, then what can I learn from that person?
yeah.
And what is it that I'm feeling that I'm missing here? And what can I learn from it or find or grow or harness? Not always easy, but you know.
It's not always easy. Sometimes you have to just learn, like you're saying, to put a break and then ask yourself, what is the learning from that? Instead of getting so deep in your thought about being you, and you're like, no, I could have actually just asked him, like, how did he do that? Or how did she do that? And now.
Exactly. Or just take that deep breath and walk in there and say, but you know what? I think I'm great. If I back myself, then someone else is going to back myself.
Back yourself.
Back yourself.
That's a Gen Z thing. Like, back yourself. I agree.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I don't think, on behalf of Bushia and myself, I'm talking for two people now.
Sorry, Bushia.
I think I could say like how much this means to us, because it resonates with why we started the podcast, really, for people to see like the different opportunities that there are in South Africa and to hear about tech in different spaces realistically. And like I said, a lot of the times when we talk, we're based off our decisions or what we're saying off the Western world and what we watch, with how tech is happening there. But it's different in South Africa. So we really, really appreciate this conversation.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'm really, really happy to be here and have this conversation with you. Thank you.
And look out for Fiona, guys. We will be doing a lot more with Capacity. You'll see some of the students as well, hopefully.
Absolutely.
So that you can actually see for some of the alumni how the experience was as well. But thank you for tuning in for another episode. We've got a lot more to come. Thank you for supporting season 1 so much. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and switch on your notification bell if you want to know when the next episode is coming out. Bye, guys.
Bye.